Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is January 5th, 2025, and amid the whole Dani Olmo and Pau Victor registration debacle, several groups of club members or socios have released a statement demanding Joan Laporta's resignation. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and during this video we're gonna discuss the new statement released by several social groups demanding that Joan Laporta resign amid the whole Pau Victor and Dani Olmo registration fiascos, and also citing other grievances that they have with the current board of directors. Now I'm gonna read to you the entire statement first, and then I'll give you my opinion on whether Joan Laporta should resign or not. And bear with me because the statement is a little bit long. Also, it was in Catalan. I went ahead, translated it to English. I hope it's a correct translation. Google Translate is not the best, but I still went through it, read it. Some parts did not make sense. I tried to kind of compare it to the original one to make the sentences a little bit more correct. I did my best, so please bear with me. But this is what the statement had to say. Now, the statement was signed by the following group: Compromisaris FCB, Dignidad Blaugrana, El Señor Ramón, Seguiment FCB, La Resistencia del Palau, Sí al Futur, which is the group led by Victor Font, Suma Barça, Som un Clam, the group led by Jean Camprubi, which is the Bartomeu-backed candidate, Transparencia Blaugrana, and Un Crit Ballet. Now, this is what the statement had to say. The groups, platforms, association under signatories want to express, first of all, that we would like not to have to sign and publish any new communique or statements. There are already several that we have had to issue in recent years, and it has been the lack of reaction of the current board of directors and a failure to take the measures that we have often demanded, inaction that has ended up leading to the point where we find ourselves today at this moment, which motivates us to react once more. We would like the club to operate in a planned and efficient manner, for the management to be excellent, for us to be at the forefront of many positive initiatives, for us to anticipate the future, because then the undersigned collectives would experience a different type of Barcelonism. So pretty much these groups saying, look, we wish we didn't have to keep issuing these statements, but the fact that the board of directors, continues to not listen to us and listen to the previous statements that we have issued, that unfortunately now we have to issue a new one. Now, this is now the communication continues by stating, but denying reality, thinking that things can change by spontaneous generation is not part of a mature associated behavior. And if we let ourselves go socially, we will end up losing what we love. We will not describe in detail the chaotic situation we have experienced in recent weeks, which is well known to all. Already in the statement we issued last September 9th, some of the undersigned collectives already did so, referenced in these last weeks. However, the list of grievances has increased significantly with the addition of facts as relevant as the non-following of the auditor's criteria in approving accounts 2023-2024 to avoid recognizing ordinary losses, the recognition of a commission difficult to understand for a mediation in the renewal of the contract signed with Nike, the attempt to hire a player for the basketball section of dubious honorability using unfortunate practices, and the permanent uncertainty of the new Palau, the negligence in the registrations of the players Dani Olmo and Pau Victor, waiting at the last moment when the club has had 4 months to do it, also ceding rights for 20 years to companies from countries with which the board promised never would make deals, ultimately losing income for future exercises, or the unwillingness to dialogue with supporters section to resolve the conflicts that harms us all, to name some of the cases. So here the group of socios are pretty much saying, look, we're not going to go into detail of all the grievances we have at board of directors. We issued a statement back in September which details all of it. However, since then, in the last 3 months, that list has grown, and they go ahead and mention the new grievances. For example, the Nike deal with the with this intermediary that supposedly Laporta has paid 50 million euros to a third party just to help them negotiate the deal, right? The Pau Victor and Dani Olmo. The fact that we don't know what's going to happen with the Palau Blaugrana. Is it going to get renovated? Yes, no. When is it going to start? When is it going to end? Also, the sale of the rights for the VIP seats, right? Because it's for 20 years. We don't know how many seats. We don't know how much. They first told us it was 200 million, 120, then 100 million. And to investors from countries which the board of Laporta had said would never do any business with, which is Qatar, amongst other grievances that these groups continue to cite. Now, the statement continues by saying, in addition to the flagrant electoral violations, the cases of negligence as proven are multiplying, and the social crisis is quite evident, with which we believe that today and now it does nothing to publicly expose what we all know perfectly well. We just want to point out that living on the edge constantly does and causes the coin to one day not fall on the side you want, causing harm material, economic, and social irreparable, and a point surely of no return. In any case, the image and reputation of the club, unfortunately, has been seriously damaged for some time. We appeal to the Barcelona fans, of the current members of the board of directors, appeal to the spirit of the slogan they used to win the last election, "We love Barca." If this expression was or is real and goes beyond words, they will understand and assume that they must step aside, and therefore, number one, they must resign to make way for a new chapter with new ways of doing and manage, and with people who have those raw energies so necessary to give life and vigor to an entity in need of change and professional management. We therefore ask them, first of all, to resign immediately. Second, if they do not want to resign because they consider that it is necessary to listen to the partners, they can also submit to a matter of binding vote of confidence, having statutory mechanisms to articulate it, as some of the undersigned groups propose we will do in 4 months. Thirdly, the lack of reaction to our previous public proposals/petitions means that we do not rule out a final scenario, which is the activation of a vote of censorship, the only tool that members have, an option that involves a significant effort and where both by its promoters and by the club itself. That is why we ask them to prioritize their love for Barca above any other consideration. Now is the time to demonstrate true Barcelonism. Visca el Barça y Visca Catalunya. So the group of socios saying pretty much you cannot keep ruling like this by chance, no plans, just completely improvising, because eventually when you continue to improvise, eventually things are not going to go your way. And as such, the group of socios are demanding that Joan Laporta either A, resign to show his love for Barcelona and make way for someone new that can, fix things. 2, if he doesn't want to resign, to submit to a vote of confidence that would be binding. This pretty much would be kind of like an election saying, hey, do you guys still have confidence in me or no? And people vote. If they do, he continues to be president. If not, then he steps down. Or finally says if Laporta doesn't do any of these, then they are considering a possibility of censorship motion, which is when people vote, and if there's a majority, then whoever is president gets kicked out. So kind of like impeachment in the political world. So where do we stand? Where do I stand on this whole deal? I think this is a little bit premature. I don't think that Joan Laporta should step down yet. I think if Dani Olmo does end up leaving, because remember, he does have a clause in his contract that if he's not registered, he could leave as a free agent. Right now, Dani Olmo doesn't want to exercise that. But if he does exercise that clause and leave, at that point, I would say, yes, Joan Laporta should resign, because we spent 60 million euros on that signing, and those 60 million euros will be pretty much down the drain. And I know we celebrated reaching the 1-to-1 rule 2 days ago, but that 1-to-1 rule is going to disappear if Dani Olmo leaves. How? Because, okay, we spent 60 million on a 6-year contract, right? So those 60 million get divided by the 6 years. So that's 10 million a year that Barcelona have to pay or have to amortize. So in the column of spending of the club for each year, that 10 million would show up for the contract or for the transfer fee of Dani Olmo. If Dani Olmo leaves now, the entire 60 million have to be absorbed during this year. It doesn't get divided over the 6 years. It will be a 60 million euro loss on our accounts. So automatically, right there, the 1-to-1 rule is out the window, and Barcelona would have to make up the 60 million they spent on Dani Olmo by a different way, sale of players, new sponsorships, whatever, in order to be able to go back to the 1-to-1 rule. So if Dani Olmo leaves, absolutely, I think Joan Laporta should resign. But for now, I don't think so. Now you might say, well, how do you reconcile that, Mo? Well, the reason why is because I think the way you judge someone's presidency or someone's act is kind of a balancing act, right? How many good things they've done versus how many bad things. And it's a scale, right? The more good things they do versus the least bad things they do, that means it's a good president, versus if they're doing mostly bad things versus a few good things. And obviously that's a bad president, because there isn't going to be a president that's not going to make any mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody commits blunders. So just because someone makes 1-2 mistakes doesn't mean they're a bad president. The opposite is also true. Just because they do 1-2 good things amongst a sea of bad things doesn't mean they're a good president. So I think it's a balancing act. Now, at first, Joan Laporta was doing a lot of great things. I think he saved the club. He knew how to steer it out of the financial hole that the club was in, reducing the wage bill, signing the Spotify deal, signing the Nike deal, pushing through the renovation of the stadium, signing more than 30 new sponsorships that increased the revenue of the club, getting rid of a lot of expensive players that we had that we couldn't get rid of, cutting the expenses all across the board. He did a lot of good things, and at first the scales were really tipped toward good versus bad. But lately, it's been a blunder after blunder after blunder, and the scales are starting to even out, right? We have the Nike deal, paying 50 million euros to someone just to be a third party. Not okay. 30 million euros for Vitor Roque that we didn't need, because we had Guiu, we had Pau Victor. And what makes it even worse, Vitor Roque arrives only to spend 4 months on the bench, and then boom, he's loaned out. Signing Dani Olmo when we knew we couldn't register, and then spending the next 4 months without coming out with any kind of plan. Because now we found out that La Liga actually informed the board not once, but twice, that they weren't going to be able to register Olmo. They didn't do anything. Instead, Olmo got registered by pure chance because Christensen got injured. And then it wasn't until December 27th that Joan Laporta started acting on his registration. Huge blunder, right? Also, the stadium telling us we're going to go back in November. Oh, no, it's February. Now, it might not even be until November of this year. Again, what is going on? I think Laporta is committing blunder after blunder after blunder. And now where the scales was, mostly good versus a few bad things, now it's starting to even out, right? So for me right now, I don't think it's time to resign. But if Dani Olmo leaves, I think that would be the time. Now, setting everything aside, and this has nothing to do with Dani Olmo or Pau Victor, but what's going on right now with the statement, with the Socis, demanding the resignation of Laporta, I think this is why I would never want the club to be sold. Because whether you agree with the Socis or not, I think this is the beauty about a club being owned by its own members. Because if the club members, which are the owners of the club, don't like what's going on, they can do things like that. They can come up, they can speak out, they can demand accountability. And if they like the president, they keep him. If they don't like him, they can remove him, right? That's what democracy looks like. This is why I would never sell the club. Because if Joan Laporta was the owner, guess what? If we like it or don't like it, what's going on with Olmo, there's absolutely nothing we could do. And I know I made a whole video about why Barcelona should not be sold, but this is another example of that. It's kind of like democracies, right? A country. Do I always agree with who the public votes for president? No. I don't even trust the public to vote for the right president, because most of the public are more concerned with watching Kim Kardashian than they are of what's going on with the government. But still, doesn't mean that I would advocate for a dictatorship, because if you have a dictator, you're stuck with that person and there's nothing you could do. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with that person. The same thing with why I believe that Barcelona should not be sold. So whether you agree with the Socios or not, I think this is another reason that in a column of pluses on why the club should remain owned by its club members. But anyways, I don't want to make this video any longer. I do want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinion. What do you think Joan Laporta should do? Should he resign? Should he continue? Let me know down below. I will be uploading another video, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, peace, Barça.